Why is everybody moving to southern Delaware? If you ask the locals, they might just say it's only chicken. But the reality is, it's one of the fastest growing counties in the entire country. So if you've recently moved to Delaware or are thinking about it, we're gonna break down every detail you need to know about southern Delaware.
Hi, I'm in Delaware.
Delawareans view Delaware differently than just towns and communities and counties. So I want to take my life in Delaware as well as 8 years in professional real estate in Delaware to get you the answers and tell you exactly where in Delaware is probably right for you and why southern Delaware is the spot to relocate. Now in front of me is our whiteboard, and we've sectioned out southern Delaware into 2 quadrants. We've layered it out by county so that you can see specifically what areas of Delaware are in which county. And on the right, we have our zones. Now this is how Delawareans view Delaware, not by county, not by town or community, but more specifically by zones, and we'll define those as we go through the video. We've also digitized this entire presentation into one packet, and if you'd like that, just simply comment the word map below and we'll get that into your inbox immediately. Now, Kent County is the middle county of Delaware, and we're gonna go through some of the income and financial dynamics of this odd county. But for today, I want to be very clear, we're only talking about the southern half of it. We're talking Dover and down. And that will feature towns that maybe if you've already looked into Delaware, you'll hear these. You'll hear Felton, you'll hear Frederica, Camden, Magnolia, Dover. All of these areas are prime relocation towns. And specifically in Kent County, the median income for a household is going to be just about $64,350. This is a bit lower than the median household income across the country, which in 2024, according to the US Census Bureau, was just above $83,000 per household. The top attraction points that bring people into Kent County have to do with things like medical and military, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But one of the best attraction points for me in Kent County right now is the nature. The western side of Kent County, as well as the trails, the parks, they're very well kept, and there's a lot of people that flock into these areas for the campgrounds. There's some in Sussex County as well, but the nature side gets underplayed and it is a top attractor. Now you'll notice food plus T2D. Please forgive my real estate of this board. I don't have as much of it as I would like. So I know we're talking about real estate today, but things to do is T2D. And so for food and things to do, the number one thing to do in this area for a lot of people is leave. And I mean that nicely in that it is close to quite a bit. You can get into Maryland in 20 minutes, you can get down to the beaches in 25 minutes, you can get above the bridge and into Newcastle, Wilmington areas in 30 to 45 minutes. And this fact alone makes it a great point of living while being to access everything quickly. And that's why we'll write proximity to all. And the last bullet for Kent County before we get into Sussex and then detailing out these zones, which is going to be where we focus the majority of our time. We just have to walk through this kind of quickly just to get our sights set. The hot spot right now for Kent County is no match for any other town really in the state. It's Milford. Milford is growing like a weed. It's at the top of everybody's relocation list, and it actually shares the line with Kent and Sussex County. I think we have a clip of standing right on the bridge where you can see it cut right down the middle, Kent on one side, Sussex on. Milford's become a hotspot due to the new Bay Health medical facility that's being built and expanded upon one building at a time, just off Route 1. Its proximity via Route 1 to places like the beaches make it an absolute dream location if you want to be near the beaches without being at the beaches. And the secret of Milford is the price point has not caught up with the hype yet. It is the #1 talked about town in Delaware with the #1 growth rate in Delaware over the last 4 years, but the price points still remain on median in the $400K range, and that's well below the $500,000 mark and even above that we'll see in some of these zones on our right. With that said, let's move into Sussex County, where the median household income traipses to and above about $85,400. Again, these numbers are according to the US Census Bureau, which recently came out, again, 2024. The top attractors for Sussex County, frankly, we have a whole list of them we put in our Sussex County guide. There's hardly any way that I could chunk it down to just one thing. If I had to, it would just be the boring answer. It would be the beaches. There's more traffic, there's more homes, there's more tourist money, there's more everything because of the beaches in Delaware. And frankly, it's very based, it's very valid because we have such good beaches that don't get overly crowded. Now, there's been some argument that in the past years that traffic's been getting worse and maybe some traffic patterns need to get reevaluated, but that's neither here nor there. And that bolsters my prior argument of wanting to be near the beaches and being possibly in a Milford, which is, by the way, right here, and that's that area that's a hotspot for Kent and Sussex. Before we shot this video, our video guy Sean here said we need to put something that stands out, something that shows that it's more important. So we did the hotspot for Milford, Kent County, but Sussex County, we did food and things to do because there's a lot. And I'm gonna write number 1 in 5 years, because right now, Wilmington, above the canal, northern Delaware would probably get the crown for the most restaurants of high class and most food diversity, and frankly, they do have quite a bit to do. But the money, the population, the real estate purchases that are happening in southern Delaware, specifically southeast Delaware, it's something to keep an eye on, and I frankly think in the next 5 years, Sussex County will take the number 1 spot as having the most things to do in the entire state. Hotspot for Sussex County right now is gonna be a little bit of an outlier. I'm gonna go ahead and say Greenwood. This is one you're probably not gonna see, even if you look down a map that hard. It's gonna position you just southwest of Milford, which I just said is a hotspot, and hear me out. Cities like Lincoln, cities like Ellendale, cities like Greenwood, these are outliers of Milford, and even beaches like Slaughter Beach and cities like Frederica are beginning to see their home prices on the rise, and that's largely due to them being close to the sun being Milford. And I gotta mention it for Sussex County before we get into zones, the top reason that people, especially families, are moving into Sussex County, more specifically southeast Sussex County, is the schools. Cape Henlopen School District, Indian River School District, those are the main two. I would look into them, do your own research. I, as a practicing realtor, cannot have a public-facing opinion, but if you were to ask AI, they would say Cape is the number 1. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's get into zones. This is how Delawareans view Delaware, and if you're thinking to yourself, I know southern Delaware is where I want to move, I'd love to chat with you. Here's my number. You can shoot me a text. Just text me, hey Zach, I want to move to Delaware. I saw your YouTube videos. But if choosing southern Delaware is already a foregone conclusion, it now becomes about the specifics. Where am I going to get the feeling I want to have every day? Where am I going to get to spend time with my family that is going to make me feel homey and cozy, and I'm going to get to take them out on the town and be like, look where I live now. Where are you going to find that feeling in southern Delaware? That's what I want to walk through now with the zones, and stick tuned to the end where we go over the 3 biggest warnings for anybody that is relocating to Delaware. Frankly, if you already know where you're going to and you want to skip just to that, please, please, please don't do these 3 things. Let's walk into Zone 1. Zone 1 is going to be an area of military, medical, and middle class. So the U.S. Census Bureau reported that 68% of Dover, Delaware specifically, which is the greater area of Zone 1, is middle class, and below the median income, at least in the Dover area, of the county itself. The county sitting just at $64,350. But Dover, the greater Zone 1 area, actually falls below the county household median income line, making only $54,000 according to the U.S. Census Bureau. And that has turned the greater area of Kent County to a relocator's market, with homes sitting for a longer period of time in some towns and deals being struck with frustrated sellers. And if you need a negotiator on that offer, I know somebody. Your average tax bill all throughout Delaware is going to be lower than median throughout the country. In fact, Delaware is in the top 10 in the country as far as property taxes go, not like our neighbor New Jersey, who's number 1. The average tax bill in Delaware is going to be the monthly payment of a lot of New Jersey taxpayers. It's going to be about $1,800, and that is for the year in this zone. Sometimes even $1,500 and less on the tax bill in Zone 1. Now, I shouted out New Jersey earlier, so I'm gonna hit on you again. New Jersey has the number 1 property tax rate in the entire country. Not the good number 1 either. And with 17 counties in our entire country having 5-digit or higher median property tax bills, that's a disgusting number. That's over $10,000 a year. So if you were to take $97,000 a year in Jersey and you were to come into Zone 1 in Delaware, you would only need to make $61,000 to maintain the same lifestyle. So if you were to have a job that transfers into Delaware, it's digital, it's virtual, and you can bring it down from Jersey, you're gonna live a bit more like a king than maybe how you're feeling right now in southern Jersey.
King in the castle, king in the castle.
But zone 1 of all 5 zones is the least popular relocation zone. The most popular relocation zone is actually gonna be zone number 2. Now, why is zone 2 solely becoming the most popular retirement area? Well, it's because of a reason I said earlier. It's because of the growing outer towns from the beach towns. We have zone 4, which we'll get into in a moment, which is currently the mecca of retirement in Delaware. We have these beach towns that are acting as a radiator, that are acting as the sun, the North Star, to heat up these towns, heat up the demand, and push up the median price point. We've seen it already happen in towns like Ocean View from Bethany Beach. We've already seen it happen with Harbison outside of Lewis, and even areas outside the Bay in Millsboro that are growing in price point. Long Neck, Selbyville, Dagsboro. Are these even towns? They are, and they're growing in price point because of proximity. And that's an area, zone 2, that you could benefit off of greatly. Others will call it the perfect mixture, putting the perfect mixture here because it is just close enough to the beaches without having to suffer the consequences of living right on the main strip. Because if there is a con that comes with living in this area, it is the con of beach traffic. Now, during the summer, during the spring, you have Route 1 that is going to bring you all the way down. I don't want to write over all the words. This is not picture perfect, but follow me here. You got Route 1 that's following you all the way down to the beaches. And when you get down here, you're going to get to about here and start seeing a little bit of an uptick in traffic. Now, the problem here could just be there's not enough lanes, there's not enough opportunity to get into the beaches without going down this one long strip all the way down the coast. That can be debated. But there's one thing that can't. There are more people coming to the beaches than ever, and those that live right here sometimes feel like maybe I should live closer to the inlands, and that's where zone 2 is getting popular. And if you're looking for my 3 favorite towns in this zone that you could potentially relocate to, just text me this. No, I'm joking, I'll tell you. It's Milton as number 1. I'm not gonna tell you to text me to get these numbers. Come on, you can text me regardless though. Let me know you're moving to Delaware. I'd be happy to interview to be your agent. Our team is fantastic. Milton, Millsboro, and Selbyville. All names we've said before. I'm not trying to fill this with just a bunch of words. I'm trying to give you as much value as possible, and that is going to lead me to repeating a few areas because that is the true answer to a lot of the questions when it comes down to why Southern Delaware and where in Southern Delaware. You just have some spots that are better than others. I'm going to keep it real with you. Now let's get into Zone 3. Zone 3 is going to be the spine of Delaware and what a lot of Southern Delawareans will claim as their own. This is not a place that I would go through and yell at all the restaurants that I'm from Jersey, I'm from PA, I'm from Connecticut, because this is like the Delaware born and bred people. Not to say you can't join in the communities, and frankly, they have some of the most tight-knit communities. It's not to say that you can't help grow these areas, because they're some of the fastest growing areas. In fact, this zone is the fastest growing zone in Delaware. New construction popping up in a lot of different areas, as well as Milford, like I just told you, being just a popular relocation option. In Zone 3, we have towns like Milton, which has just the cutest downtown, and we did a beautiful tour. If you want to watch a driving tour of that, that's a cool one we did just a couple weeks ago. Going up north, you get to some of the fake beaches, as Delawareans would say, like Broadkill Beach, Slaughter Beach. Those are wonderful real estate options, though, if you're looking for something lesser price point while also getting the beach atmosphere. Quick note, if you do actually look in the Broadkill beaches, just make sure you have a good bug guy. The bugs out there can be a bit much. Trying to keep it real with you. We're looking at Lincoln, we're looking at Ellendale, we're looking at Milford, and we're looking up into areas like Frederica, Felton, and even Camden. Camden, Magnolia, Frederica area, actually having one of my favorite retirement neighborhoods on a discount. Under $500,000, you get brand new construction with a full finished basement, and they cut your lawn for you, and I can get you a deal, 30 grand off. Hit me up, here's my number. You can text me, I'm still here. And the new construction in this area, you can still get at a premium for around the 400 to 600K range. That's really only gonna get you into areas like Zone 4 that we're about to talk about, whereas you can really get a lot of bang for your buck in the new construction world in Zone 3, if that's where you're choosing to relocate in Southern Delaware. Now getting into Zone 4, on my slightly ruined map, we're looking at the coast of Delaware. This is the crown jewel of Southern Delaware. Now, for a lot of people who are looking to retire, I'm gonna be honest with you, this catches people off guard when they start looking at price points. Because as we'll get to in some of the warnings, there are sometimes some hidden wolves in sheep's clothing in the real estate world down at the beaches that we'll talk about that I want you to avoid. But for the most part, you're looking at a median price point in this area of about $650,000 to $800,000. Now, depending on your proximity, of course, to the water, how much sand is within your view, how close you are to one of these downtown strips like Bethany Beach's Boardwalk or Lewis offers. That's all gonna determine how much you're paying, but out of all of the zones, this is the most expensive. Obviously, look at where you're at. And below this little point right here, that's where the actual waves begin. This is where you're gonna get current all the way down to this gap right here. This is the bridge, that's the Indian River Inlet. Cool little restaurant there, and then they'll bring you into Bethany, but we'll catch that in a second. Zone 4 is the mecca of retirement. As I said, this is the crown jewel. This is the big sapphire jewel that sits in the middle of the crown for the king and the queen, and if you're the king and the queen, this is gonna be the place you wanna go. What am I even saying at this point? The 5 beach towns that you're going to see when you look up this area in order are gonna be Lewis, it's gonna be Cape Henlopen, you're gonna get into Rehoboth, then you're gonna see Dewey, and then you're gonna see Bethany. Zach, you're leaving one off. Yes, it's the best one. It's number 6, the Secret Beach. It's not really a secret, but it doesn't come up in Delaware as often as it should. Fenwick Island. Fenwick Island being the southernmost beach, and as you work up, again, backwards, Bethany, back over the Indian River Inlet into Dewey, then you're getting Rehoboth, Lewis, and Cape Henlopen. It's actually Cape and then Lewis, but those are all the towns you can look into. The best beach to go to casually is Cape Henlopen. The best place to go out and eat is gonna be Bethany, and the most popular beach, bar none, is gonna be Rehoboth. Now, the hotspot for Zone 4, I had a hard time choosing, to be honest with you, because if we're talking about hotspots, again, we're talking about the areas that are near and dear to the areas that are already seeing financial success. Prices are already high, demand's already high. And most of Zone 4 already falls into that category. So what are the areas that are still slightly on the come up? I had a hard time choosing, but I am gonna go with Ocean View. The reason I go with Ocean View is A, I'm very biased toward Bethany Beach being the best overall beach in our entire state. It's got one of the best boardwalks, one of the best options for dining from breakfast all the way to dinner. It's clean, it's easy to drive through, and they got a really cool wooden tiki guy. And Ocean View is the western town in from that beach town. It's got great golf, it's got great communities, it's got a lot of inland water, lakes, ponds, things to do, places to eat. It checks all the boxes. So I love Ocean View, and I see if there's any area that still hasn't seen priced in the future demand it's gonna have, it would be Ocean View. Now, moving into Zone 5, I have to warn you, this is only for a very specific person. If you're not the specific person, you're gonna wanna stay for the 3 warnings, and you may just wanna skip to the 3 warnings if you're serious about relocating to Southern Delaware. Zone 5 is for my dreamers. Zone 5 is the person that wants the land, that wants the peace, the privacy, and the customization that can come with having that final dream home. What am I talking about here? Let's go over to the map. Zone 5 stretches all the way from the bottom of Sussex County, the Laurel area here, all the way up to and through Georgetown, Seaford, Blades, that is a town, getting into Harrington, going to and through Felton, all the way up into Hartley. You're looking at areas where you have opportunity for 2 things. 1, land is still available in areas that aren't considered wetlands, don't require sand mound septic tanks, which are more expensive, and you want to make sure every dollar is preserved and tracked when you're looking in the new construction. It can add up. And not only is the land available, it's priced appropriately. Have you tried to buy land in Delaware before? Let me tell you, it is getting more expensive every year. Prices are up 47% just for real estate in Southern Delaware since 2020. We are no longer a secret. If you're watching this thinking nobody knows about Delaware as a retirement, the secret is slowly getting out more and more. Zone 5 gets you out into more of the boony areas. You could still get under 400K because of that. And if you do start to look at land in this area, what you'll discover is that Zone 5 has the lowest cost per acre in the entire state. So if you want the deal on land, you want to build the dream home, you want to get the 4-wheelers out, you want to have the homestead, you want to bring in multiple properties on the one property. I love that one, by the way. I love the creative deals, the homesteading. It's so cool. We're getting chickens in the spring, so we're going to be right behind you. Zone 5 is going to be where you want to go. There are some specific niches that I would suggest based off why or what specifically you're looking to do with that new home. But man, Zone 5 is where the deal can still be struck. I forgot one thing over here on Zone 5. Specifically, if you're looking right here, I'm gonna need you to know that about 78% of the people who are watching this video that are thinking of moving to Zone 5 have not hit the subscribe button yet. And if that's you, that's the best way to support the channel. I'd love if you hit subscribe and join us for the following videos for the rest of the year, because they're gonna be great. And if you're serious about Zone 5, I can tell you the 3 things that you need to bring. Number 1, money, and less money, because you're gonna get a good deal out here in Zone 5. Number 2, a pickup truck. You're gonna get judged based off whether or not you got a diesel or not in the state. We got one in the driveway, and it's electric. And number 3, you're gonna need to bring your banjo. I'm just kind of joking there, but yeah, this is definitely the area where it's like, it's a little boony. You're gonna have maybe some lower signal areas, maybe a 15-minute jolly walk over to the Walmart, to the closest grocery store, and maybe the town you choose, like Blades, doesn't even have a pizza spot. That's where I would say that's all up to your prerogative. Some people are gonna love that, other people are gonna hate it. And that's why we created this video, so that you can understand the nuances and the details and the niche areas, I never know which way to pronounce that, of Southern Delaware. Because if you were thinking of Southern Delaware, you need to know where and you need to know why. But let's get into the 3 warnings as we finish it off. By the way, if you still haven't hit subscribe, why? 3 big warnings. Number 1, lots. You're going to see price points look great in an area around Lewis and an area around Rehoboth, maybe even Milton or Millsboro. And let me give you a warning. Every price has a story. If you see a $150,000 home in Lewis or Rehoboth, it more than likely has lot rent. Lot rent, if you don't know, is a dollar amount you pay to the person who owns the dirt below your house. So you may have a double wide, a single wide, and a lot of people use this for vacation properties, but you do not own the land, and you'll pay on it for forever, and it can add anywhere between $6,000 and even $12,000 a year in expenses. So number 1, lot rent. Number 2, we are a wet state, specifically if you're looking in Zone 5, Zone 3, new construction can be barred in some areas due to state and federal wetlands. To help you with that, there is a Delaware GCI wetlands map. You can Google that. I've also put it in the description for us so that you can actually look up an address and know whether or not it falls in a federal wetlands area in Delaware. And if you're curious what the detriment of that is, A, sometimes you can't even build a home there, and B, it can make it difficult to get a well and a septic tank, sometimes having to resort to more expensive septic tank options like a sand mound that we mentioned earlier. And number 3 is for new builds. Guys, this is a little bit of a selfish one for me and for you. I don't want you to get locked into a scenario where negotiating wise, you're getting taken advantage of. You don't know the local legislation. You also don't know the local deals. You don't have the leverage. What I would like to let you know is that once you walk into a new construction builder open house, you are now represented by that new construction company. So what we created over here was just the quick show program. Text me the address you want to go see. If it is open house, if it is new construction, if it is your first meet with any builder, let me attend with you. Whether or not I end up representing you or not, or whether you end up buying that property or not, doesn't matter. Because once we're at the first one, you now have representation, and it's not from the same company that's selling you the house that employs the salespeople. If you catch my drift, that can lean in the opposite direction of where you want it to lean for negotiating sake. So that would be my 3rd warning. Again, a little selfish because I want to be your agent. We didn't put this together for just our own fun. As much as I enjoy it and as much as we've learned over the last 8 years in selling specifically to people looking to relocate in the Southern Delaware, I want to be able to represent you, myself, our small niche team of absolute all-stars that will serve over 100 families this year, want to be able to serve you in your relocation efforts to Southern Delaware. So shoot me a text, 302-503-6647. Text me the town that maybe you're looking to get into, or maybe one thing you pulled out from this video, and we'll be looking forward to being able to connect with you and help you in relocating to the great southern side of the first state.